It is definitely shaping up to be a potentially very busy offseason for the New York Rangers as they look to make the necessary changes to this roster to hopefully upgrade it and make it a whole lot better than what it was from this past season after not even making the playoffs, which was definitely very disappointing. So in today's video, we've got some pretty big trade news to take a look at here, a pretty big trade update involving a certain New York Ranger who has been involved in lots of different trade talk kind of amongst New York Rangers fans, and that is K'Andre Miller, right? There's been lots of talk about certain fans wanting to see him traded away and some fans wanting to see him stay. Definitely a guy who's been involved in a lot of rumors. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at this pretty big and important trade news, which definitely could be a very good thing for the New York Rangers involving K'Andre Miller and this trade situation. So let's get right into things here. And first off, take a look at a Yahoo Sports article, which does kind of give some information here and some news on kind of the latest information involving the K'Andre Miller trade situation. So let's get right into it here, as they end up saying in the article. Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman originally reported that the New York Rangers are beginning to explore the trade market on Miller. At the NHL Draft Combine, which did happen on June 7th, Cam Robinson of Elite Prospects provided some more insight into this report. Quote, "One player whose name keeps popping up at the Combine is K'Andre Miller," Robinson wrote via X. "I'm told the Rangers have let teams know he's available, but clubs are weighing the option versus the offer," she wrote. "Appears to be significant interest in the 25-year-old. And of course, this is pretty interesting because there is the option of possibly a team going out there and offer sheeting a guy like K'Andre. And if they do put it at a certain cap hit, the Rangers may decide to not want to match that and may want to take that pretty much more than likely, which would be a first and I believe a third round pick. I made a video a week or two ago, a couple weeks ago now, kind of breaking down the possible kind of offer sheet situation there with K'Andre Miller and Will Cooley. Now, I kind of said in that video that I don't necessarily think an offer sheet is going to happen because it would have to be a first and a third round pick, but maybe I'm wrong, and maybe a team is willing to go out there and give up that first round pick and a third for K'Andre. Maybe that's what's going to happen. It's definitely possible, and I never thought it was impossible, but I kind of figured a team would go out there and be more willing to kind of make that trade happen, and the Rangers would probably be okay with that because then they'd be able to get back more than likely an actual maybe NHL caliber player who was still somewhat young in that package as well, whereas if it is going to be an offer sheet, the Rangers were only going to be getting back a first and a third, which that's great and all. It's not bad value at all for, K'Andre Miller, but I'm just saying, right, the Rangers would probably rather a guy who can help them right now, although getting a first round pick, especially depending on the team, could be quite valuable heading into a draft where there is, a guy like, of course, Gavin McKenna, who is that elite, truly generational prospect potentially. So not saying that's a guarantee that, you get that pick and then you have a chance in the lottery there, but it is just a nice kind of thing to get there next to first. But of course, the more ideal route for the Rangers is to probably go out there and just kind of make an actual maybe hockey trade there where you're trading K'Andre Miller maybe directly up, kind of one-for-one swap for another kind of solid NHL kind of young player in the same kind of similar spot to a guy like K'Andre. So there's definitely some options out there. We'll have to wait and see what does happen. And, my guess is going to be, for his next cap and his next contract there, something around if the Rangers are going to sign him, more than likely a shorter term kind of bridge deal with a cap at around, $6 million, maybe 6.25, maybe like 5.9, but something around that $6 million kind of mark there per season is kind of what my guess is. Now, if a team's going to offer sheet him, it's going to have to be at least around that $6 million mark if they want to have a chance at probably, getting K'Andre to accept. And around that mark, there is where they're going to have to give up that first and third round pick and compensation. So that's kind of the decision the Rangers would have to make there is, do they want to pay him around that $6 million figure, but also, get back that first and third? Would they rather just hold on to him at that point there, or would they rather, try and trade him in a different kind of deal there, which obviously if a team does offer sheet him, of course, and then K'Andre accepts it, you can't then go on and trade him. So that's kind of the whole decision and kind of, plan the Rangers going to have to kind of run through there is, what to do with K'Andre. Do they want to risk an offer sheet coming in there where they'd have to either match it or take that first and third? Would they rather go out there and make some kind of an actual trade with him? There are definitely going to have to be some decisions made on him, and they're going to have to do that as soon as possible before, these offer sheets can actually start really kind of happening. So I'm definitely excited to see what this team is going to decide to do with K'Andre Miller, but Now, let's kind of move on here and take a look at another quote here from this Yahoo Sports article where they end up saying Miller is set to become a restricted free agent on July 1, and a contract extension has still not been agreed upon, while it's unclear where negotiations stand at this point in time. Quote, kind of hard to talk about my future here, Miller said during his exit interview. Quote, I have a great agent who is going to help me throughout this summer's process. I love being a New York Ranger. I think this has been some of the best years of my life. These past 5 years have been unforgettable in about every aspect you can think of. That's all I really have to comment on. And I really do wonder kind of where the Rangers stand right now with a guy like K'Andre and kind of where they're at with kind of what they would want to pay him per season and kind of how many years, because it's really interesting, how much would a guy like, Mike Sullivan, for example, coming in here to this team with an outside kind of look coming in, right? He's been a guy who's been coaching against his team for many, many years now. He's been coaching against a guy like K'Andre, what kind of interest does he have in keeping around a guy like K'Andre on his team who, if you're keeping him around, you're going to want him to play some kind of a top 4 role for you because you're going to have to be paying him a really good chunk of change there, right? He's going to get paid around that $6 million mark, in my opinion. Whether or not he stays with the Rangers, it's going to be around that number at least. So does a guy like Mike Sullivan think he can kind of get the most out of a guy like K'Andre and get more out of him than kind of what other coaches have been able to do in the past there with guys like David Quinn, of course, and Gerard Gallant and Peter Laviolette? Like, does he think he can do a better job than those guys there and try and turn him into more of a consistent player? Or does he think he's kind of reached his potential there and he's kind of, maxed out there and his development is pretty much done, right? That's a question that I have absolutely no idea about. And I really kind of wonder because with Mike Sullivan coming in now and him being such a kind of veteran, experienced head coach, I would imagine he's going to have some say on some of this kind of stuff here, especially around a guy like K'Andre, who is such a interesting kind of unique player because he's that 6'5" defenseman there. He's an amazing elite skater for that size, right? He's got some great offensive talent there, has some pretty good defensive talent as well, but and seemingly maybe that hockey IQ that he just gets lost in moments there, doesn't exactly know where to be, isn't in kind of the right angle, the right spot there to help kind of help out Igor there or be in the right spot to defend. And, sometimes he just gets beat out front there because he's out of position there or he just kind of loses his guy. So to me, it's a really tough one with K'Andre because I still do think there is that off chance that he figures things out there and becomes that amazing top 4 caliber defenseman. And there's also the scenario where he just kind of stays where he's at right now or maybe takes another step back, which he hasn't really necessarily taken massive steps back over the past few seasons there, but he had that one really great offensive season where he put up some phenomenal numbers, and then the last couple of seasons now has just kind of taken a bit of a step back since that 2022-23 season when I kind of thought he was able to potentially maybe going forward take a big step up in his game once again, but he just didn't quite do that, and now it's been kind of back-to-back kind of disappointing seasons out of K'Andre. We just have not seen him kind of take that step up, especially offensively where, like I said, one season he did put up that 43-point mark there, and the last 2 seasons has been 30 and 27 points each. So it's been a little disappointing with K'Andre for sure because he's a guy with all that talent there. He shows so many flashes of it, but he just can't quite do it at a consistent enough levels. And with all that being said, I am definitely more on the side of trading away K'Andre Miller. I think if this team can get back some good value, like maybe a first and a third round pick, especially depending on the team, because like I said, it obviously has to be from that exact team, right? It can't be, let's say if Chicago's offer sheeting for a guy like K'Andre Miller, let's say, it can't be some other team's first and third round pick, where it has to be from Chicago. It has to be from that exact team that is offer sheeting, and it has to be, the next year's picks there. So it has to be 2026 first and third round pick from that exact team that is offer sheeting for K'Andre. So that's kind of where I think, especially depending on the team there, it very well might be worth it. And I really do just kind of wonder what the Rangers are going to do. But at the end of the day, if this team can get back the right value there and some good enough value, I think what's best for this team going forward into the future is to trade away K'Andre, get back as much as you can, get some good value back, and then use that cap space and assets to go out there and upgrade this roster in other areas. And opening up that cap space as well and not having to pay a guy like K'Andre around that $6 million mark might allow you to go out there and, sign a guy like a Vladislav Gavrikov, or go out there and, acquire a guy like a, Ivan Provorov in free agency, or go out there and trade for a guy now like Bowen Byram, who's not going to be cheap, right? He's going to cost a good amount of kind of value there, a good amount of picks, prospects, or, young NHL players, whatever it is. So being able to, garner some more kind of assets there, and you add another first round pick and a third maybe from an offer sheet side of things there, maybe allows you to go out there and, like I said, make that trade for someone like Bowen, who's definitely going to be a very hot commodity on this market. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. Of course, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts. Do you agree with my take on kind of wanting to see Keandre Miller traded away and kind of thinking it's best for this team's kind of long-term future, assuming they can get the right value back in return? Do you want to see him traded away just for the sake of trading him away and not really caring what we get back in return? Do you want to see him stay? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Would you be happy with the first and third round pick coming back in return via an offer sheet? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily Rangers content, as it does help the channel out a ton, and I would really, really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.